Welcome to day 3 of our melt immersion. Now, if you're already starting to feel the changes, and I hope that you are, remember these subtle changes really do start to build up. I almost think of melting sort of like taking an anti-inflammatory. You don't take an anti-inflammatory on Monday and think it's still working on Thursday. Remember, accumulative stress happens from daily life. Just spending about 10 minutes a day can literally transform the fluid state of your connective tissue and improve muscle balance and stability, synergy, and just natural balance and coordination when we move. Now, we've practiced some upper body lengthening techniques. Today, I want to go into doing some lower body length moves and then add our rebalance and upper body length techniques to it. So I'm about 5'6", and so I can do this with just one towel. And what I do is I fold it up and I make it a roll all on its own. Now, if you're 6 feet tall, you might even want to take 2 towels around, but for most of my clients, 1 towel is plenty. And again, if you roll it up into a nice firm shape, it's going to be perfect for what we want to do. Now, I'm going to give you a tip here. Remember in Rebalance, I told you about tucking and tilting, and we were going to use that in some of the other treatments. Well, tucking and tilting is going to become an integral part of learning how to lengthen the connective tissue in your lower body. And our lower body is loaded with accumulative stress, so we definitely want to go ahead and release that today. So go ahead and set your towel aside, and let's do our basic body scan, and let's see how much accumulative stress you have in your body today. And remember, I want you to notice if your body is feeling different even from yesterday. You might find that you're actually maintaining some of the changes in your body from day to day, and that's really profound. If you're already doing that, again, you are well on your way to becoming a great hands-off body worker. So go ahead and lie on your back, palms faced up, arms and legs extended. Use your body sense and scan your masses and spaces. Now on day 1, I had mentioned all sorts of things that you could feel that were opposed to ideal. So let's review those again. Remember, stuck stress loves to live in 3 areas: our shoulder girdle, our diaphragm, and our pelvis. It alters the neural core reflexes. So using your body sense, scan your masses and spaces. Let's start in your upper body. Notice your head, arm, and your torso position. Remember, if your head feels off-centered, if you use your body sense and you scan your arms and you notice one arm is more weighted to the ground than the other, or you're noticing all of your back weight feels like it's propped on your shoulder blades rather than having weight in the mid-rib wall, both between and below the shoulder girdle, you've identified stuck stress living in your shoulder girdle. You could also take the moment to turn your head left and right. Notice if you have limited range, pain, or your shoulders move, to turn your head gently on the floor. And then bring your head back to a center point and take a breath in and start to notice the tension, shape, and size of your low back curve. If you want, put a finger in your belly button and notice if the arch of your back feels more tense and lifted above your belly button rather than below. Remember, we like a nice, small, distinctive space in the lower part of the pelvis, not into the mid back. We like it into the low back, just above the pelvic curve. Now, notice your pelvis and the lower body. In your pelvis, remember, if you're lying on your tailbone, rather than 2 evenly weighted butt cheeks, if the back of thigh masses feel more like spaces, notice if there's tension in your legs. Could you let those legs relax? Notice if you've got that unnecessary tension living in your body, right? That's a sign of inefficiency. If the back of thigh masses feel off the ground, if your knee space feels unevenly lifted or you don't feel it at all, if the calf mass feels unevenly weighted, and then also without looking at your feet, notice your foot angle. How do your feet feel? Ideally, your feet feel like they're angling northeast, northwest towards where the ceiling meets the walls. Notice if without looking at your feet, it feels like your toes are pointed away from your ankles, out to the sides of the room, or in just 2 completely different angles. They don't feel balanced from left to right. Okay, so now remember, 4 common imbalances. If you feel like all your back weight's on the shoulder blades, mid-back feels really tense, tailbone's on the ground, back of thighs are off the floor, those are the ones we really want to key into because those are the ones that destabilize our neural core the most and compress our neck and low back unnecessarily. Divide yourself into a left and a right. Final thing to always evaluate is our autopilot sufficiency. How are we starting the day? If you're feeling like one entire side of your body is more weighted or one leg feels longer, we want to see if we can resolve that with the treatment that we're going to do today. Okay, so remember what you feel. Take your towel that you have rolled up And we're going to bring it right behind the back of our hips. So you're going to lift up your hips and you're going to try to bring that roller right behind the back of your pelvis. Now, I want you to notice it is not in my low back, and I want you to make sure it's not in your low back either. So if you put your hands on your hip bones, kind of like you have a New York City attitude, if you run your hands over the top crest of your hips, you should not run into the roller or your towels, right? You should feel like the back of your pelvis is on your towels. So if I go ahead and I bring my knees into my chest and I just let my legs fold in for a moment, again, I don't want to feel tension in my low back. I want to feel like the weight of my pelvis is on the towels. So hopefully that's what you're feeling. Now go ahead and set your feet back down onto the ground and let's practice a modified tuck and tilt. So this is what we call a modified tuck and tilt challenge. So we've done this when we were lying the length of the roller. I want you to try to tuck your pelvis. Remember, that's like a tidal wave, your pubic bone curling in towards your nose, kind of crashing into the belly button. And then as we tilt, I want you to feel the back of your pelvis land to the top of your roller. Now remember, when we tuck, we don't want to feel like we're pushing into our feet, squeezing our butt cheeks, or lifting our hips. And when we tilt, we don't want to feel our ribs come with us. And if you're feeling like your ribs are coming with you, remember, you could always put your hands right on your ribs. And again, tucking, remember the belly should not paunch up. And tilting, we're just allowing the pelvis to land to the top of the roller. I'm not asking you to go over the top of the roller. Look what would happen to my low back if I did that. I want to feel like I'm able to tuck. I feel more weight maybe toward the top of my pelvis, toward the curved side of my towel. And when I tilt, I land more to the absolute top of the towel. Let's try 2 more times. Tucking without pushing into our feet. Tilting without allowing the ribs to move. If you want, take a breath in, and on your exhale tuck, find your core as you do that. Tie that core activation into it. Take a breath in and then find your core and tilt. Okay, so we're going to need our tuck and our tilt to do some lengthening techniques. So we're going to try to lengthen the back thigh. And what I want to teach you is the difference between stretching muscles, which we're all very familiar with, I'm sure, and lengthening fascia. So I just want you to take your right leg and you're going to go ahead and kick it out low and long. Your leg can stay on the floor for a moment. And the first thing I want you to do is allow your core to activate. So take a breath in. Feel and follow your core activation, and then try to lift your right leg off the ground and see if you can keep your knee straight and your pelvis neutral on the roller. So notice if your hips have tipped over to that right side. I want you to think about your left foot feeling light on the floor and feel the work on your thigh now. Flex your foot, and nice and slow, we're just going to go ahead and bring that leg up. And I want you to stop before your leg gets to perpendicular or your knee wants to bend. So if your knee bends, you've got to angle the leg down. Now the first thing I want you to do is just flex and point your ankle and see if you can feel that pull in the back of your calf. Now, if you're feeling that, that's a muscle stretching, right? I'm contracting and releasing a muscle. But now what I want to do is I want to keep my back muscles relaxed, and I want to engage my front thigh muscles. So I'm going to flex my foot, engage my thigh a little bit, and as I'm flexing my foot up, I'm going to think about tilting my pelvis onto the top of the roller. And what I want you to see if you can sense is a tensional pull all the way down the back of your legs. Take a breath in here. Ease back some of the tension, and then on your exhale, flex your foot, get that leg straight, and tilt your pelvis onto the top of the roller. And then go ahead and release that all the way down. So we actually have to use muscles to lengthen connective tissue. So it's a little bit different than a stretch, right? So you're actively participating in making some changes. Now, you might actually notice that one of your legs feels a little different than the other now that we have some fluid flow moving in the leg that we've just treated. So quick to make changes in that fluid system. Okay, so same thing. I want to check my body's nice and relaxed. I'm going to go ahead and kick my left leg out low and long. My heel can stay on the ground for a second. And then again, I'm going to find my core. I can make my SH, SE, or HA sound, or just feel and follow the engagement. I'm going to bring my leg up to about parallel. And again, as soon as my leg is here and I'm working to hold my leg there, I want to think my right foot is light, my pelvis is on the top of the roller, right? So ribs are nice and relaxed. I'm going to slowly float that leg on up. And again, let's just experience difference between muscles and fascia. Flex and point your ankle. Notice if your knee wants to bend. We've got to get that leg straight. right? Feel the pull in the back of your calf. And now again, instead of muscle, we actually want to flex our foot and engage the front thigh and tilt our pelvis onto the top of the roller. See if you can feel that pull now travel all the way down to the pelvis. Inhale, you can ease back some of that intention to pull. And then exhale, again, flexing the foot and tilting the pelvis. Two-directional lengthening to get that fascial pull all the way down the leg. And then bend your knee and release it down. Let's try it one more time, a little more in real time. Left foot is going to stay light on the ground. You're going to kick your right leg low and long instead of having it hit the floor. Kick it right out. Left foot is light, right foot flexes. Bring that leg on up again. As soon as you get to that point where your knee wants to bend or you get perpendicular, take a breath in, and on an exhale, flex your foot and tilt your pelvis onto the top of the roller. Remember, that's kind of like the fluid of the undertow running back to the top of the pelvis. And then we're going to let it go. One more time on the other side. Again, right foot stays light. You're going to kick your left leg out low and long, flex your foot, and slowly bring that leg on up. And again, as soon as you feel like the knee wants to bend or you get perpendicular, no further than perpendicular, flex the foot and tilt your pelvis. I want you to almost feel like you're energizing your sits bones at the bottom of your pelvis forward in space against that flex. And then go ahead and let that go. Set your foot back down to the ground. Let's go ahead and let's check our tuck and tilt again. Now you might notice that it's actually easier for you to move your pelvis in the tuck and tilt. So if you're noticing a subtle change just from doing one technique, let's add another to really release some fluid flow to the front of your spine. Next move is called the bent knee press. I want you to really focus first on your right foot. Find the ball of your big toe, find the outside of your foot, and then try to find the center of your heel. I actually want you to actively participate in kind of pushing your right foot into the floor. Now, if you get a cramp in the back of your leg, we know that we've got some fluid flow issues in the front body, and it's probably because of the volume of time you spend sitting. So now I'm going to bring my left leg in towards my chest, and before I grab onto it, I'm going to grab my pelvis, and the first thing I'm going to do is keep my right foot focused on pushing to the ground, and I'm going to tuck my pelvis. So the top of my hips are going to get more heavy on the curved surface of my towel, the roll. Now, if you're feeling a little bit of a pull in the front of your thigh, you are already in the land of fascial tension, and that's where we want to start. Notice if your leg is starting to swing out to the side, that's fascial issues. Try to line your knee straight ahead so that the head of your knee is like a headlight pointed straight ahead. Tuck your pelvis, and now if you want, either grabbing in front of your shin or behind the back of your thigh, encourage the tuck and accentuate it by bringing your knee towards your chest. But now I really want you to feel like you're energizing your right knee over your toes as you curl your pubic bone into the tuck towards your nose. And then inhale, ease back some of that tension. And then again, tucking, energize your knee in opposition. Feel that subtle tensional pull on the front of the thigh. And then let that go. Let's try that onto the left side. So same thing. Find the ball of your big toe, the outside of your foot, and your heel. Land the foot firmly on the floor and just bring your right leg up. Again, don't pull on it yet. Find your imprint of your foot. Really try to find your heel right underneath your knee if you can. And again, finding the footing. Forefoot has to have pressure as much as your heel. And then again, put your hands on your pelvis and try to tuck your pelvis. Notice if that's done anything to your head, try to keep your head out of it, right? We're differentiating, just the pelvis has changed, nothing else. So once we've got that pelvis in a tuck, energize your left knee over your toes. See if you find a nice, subtle, gentle pull on the front of your thigh. And then to accentuate your tuck, we're going to bring that right knee towards our chest. But now again, I want you to energize your left knee over your toes. And then inhale, ease back some tension. Tuck the pelvis, energize your knee over your toes. And then go ahead and set your foot back down onto the ground. Now again, just those subtle changes, it's just about bringing fluid flow back toward the pelvis. So now go ahead and tuck and tilt your pelvis now and see if it's easier for you to move your pelvis than it was before. So you can see how muscles will start to adapt and release any unnecessary tension just from making fluid exchanges. Now I've got one really challenging move. It's called the tuck and tilt challenge, and I want to try it today with you to see if we can actually release your low back. So you're going to bring both of your legs now off the ground. Heels are going to stay slack to your butt cheeks, and we're going to place our hands in front of our thighs. So the palms are going to go right to the end of your thighs, and you're going to straighten out your arms and just gently press your thighs into your hands. Now, if you're doing that right, you're going to feel a little engagement in your abdomen, but that's not your abdominal muscles. That's your rooted core. That's the deeper components of the fascial tissues and the muscles called psoas hugging along your spine. It's got nothing to do with your front belly at all. So feel the thighs pressing into your hands, and now gently try to tuck your pelvis so that the top of your hips feel heavier on your side of the roller. Keep your thighs pressing into your hands. Notice where your rib weight is. And now try to untuck your pelvis without letting your ribs move at all. That movement might be really small. Let's try it 3 more times. Take a breath in. Exhale, keep your thighs pressing into your hands. Find your core. Tuck your pelvis. Take a sip of air. Exhale, keep your thighs pressing into your hands and untuck your pelvis. Let's try 2 more times. Exhale and tuck. Keep your thighs pressing into your hands. Keep your ribs quiet. Exhale and tilt. And 1 more time. Breath in, exhale, and then tuck. Keep your thighs pressing into your hands. Take a sip of air. And then untuck your pelvis back to the tilt. Now keep your tilt. Let's decompress your low back. Don't move anything. Just take a breath in. And on an exhale, press your thighs into your hands. Make your SHSE or HA sound and feel the weight of your pelvis in the tilt on the top of the roller, thighs pressing into your hands, ribs nice and relaxed, traction the spine. 1 more time, taking a breath in. Thighs into your hands, pelvis to the top of the roller, ribs down, relax, exhale, and let that go. Set your feet back down to the ground again, and let's retest. Tucking and tilting. Notice if you've increased your ability to move your low back. Really great reassessment, another reconnect technique to help us become aware of the changes we can make just hydrating the tissues along our spine. So now lift up your hips, take the roller out from underneath your pelvis, and let's lie on our back for a moment and let's reassess. Now we haven't done anything for the upper body, we didn't try to reset our autopilot yet, but if we've hydrated some of the fluid flow along the spine, you're going to notice some changes, some direct changes that you might feel. Tune into your lower body masses. If you started off feeling like your muscles were really tense, notice if your legs are more relaxed. We've got better efficiency. If your butt cheeks or the back of thigh masses or your calves feel more balanced on the floor, great way to change some of the stability architecture of our low back. Now, a really profound thing is if we've actually decompressed our low back, you're going to find that your mid-rib wall is much more relaxed to the ground, and your low back curve might actually feel more lifted, only the lift is more relaxed and it's well below the belly button. Great changes. You can also key into your upper body, turn your head left and right. You may have already made some changes in your ability to turn your head without doing anything to your upper body at all. And if you bring your head back to center, tune into your autopilot. Notice if we've made any changes from left to right. If you feel any of those changes, you feel more balanced. Again, we're well on our way, and we're still going to add a rebalance sequence with some upper body length. So go ahead and bend your knees, roll yourself on your side, and come on and up to sitting. Okay, so if we've already made some changes doing the hydration, now that we've got some hydration in the body, let's go ahead and try our rebalance sequence now. So remember, if you're going to do the rebalance sequence and you've got your towels, I would take 1 towel and roll it up. And then we're going to take a second towel and we're going to roll it up over that, right? That's a little bit too thin of a roll. We want enough so that we can really make some changes in the body. And so again, we'll just take our towels and we'll roll them up. And then once you have your towels rolled up, we're going to go ahead and lie the length of our spine. So go ahead and set your roller down. And we're going to come on up and lie the length, head to tail. Make sure your head and your spine and your pelvis all comfortably onto the top of your roller. Now once you're here, forearms come on down to the ground. Remember, feet just hip width apart, not too wide, feet firmly on the floor. Close your eyes if you want to heighten your autopilot's connection to your center of gravity. And we're going to begin with gentle rocking, allowing the masses to gently tip right and left. And as you're doing this, just take some nice, slow, focused breaths, feeling how the breath again elevates and expands the body. And as it exhales, everything comes back to midline and relaxes. Allowing all of your masses, head, ribs, and pelvis, to all feel that subtle rocking action. And then nice and slowly coming back to a midline. Place your hands onto the front of your pelvis, fingertips on your pubic bone, heels of your hands on your hip bones. And now we're going to try to gently tuck our pelvis. Pubic bone curls toward the nose. And we're going to try to tilt our pelvis without allowing our ribs to move. Notice if you're much more accurate with that subtle differentiated motion. Huge changes if we can really restore hydration. Tucking and tilting. Also noticing if the belly is more apt to stay relaxed through our tuck and tilt. Gently tucking and tilting. And let's try one more time. Tucking and tilting. Now find somewhere in the middle of your active tuck and tilt, one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Let's begin with our 3D breath breakdown, taking 3 slightly slower than normal breaths into the front and back of our body, breathing depth through the torso. And exhaling. Allowing your body to relax as you breathe in. Notice if your body subtly tips or lists or shifts on the roller. Don't stop that from happening. That's part of that rebalancing effect. Trying it again, breathing in, front to back, and exhaling. Now take your hands onto the sides of your ribs. Take 3 slightly slower than normal breaths into the sides of your body. If you feel your mind wander, just come back into the breath, exhaling, feeling and following the release back to midline. Breathing in with. And then breathing out. One more time, breathing in. And breathing out. Then take one hand over your pubic bone, one hand over the base of your throat, and this time take 3 slightly slower than normal breaths, lengthening. Allow the expansion of your torso all the way down to the pelvic floor, all the way up to your collarbones, and then letting your body relax back to midline. Again, breathing in length, nice and slow. And exhaling. One more time, breathing length. And exhaling. Then place both hands on your belly. Find your core by forcing your exhale with your SH, SE, or HA sound. Shh. Follow it through until there's no breath left. One more time, breathing in. Trying it again. Shh. This time taking that 6-sided breath in. Don't force anything, just feel and follow that subtle engagement. Again, breathing in. Exhaling, feeling and following. Keep your mind on that engagement. Let's lengthen through the upper body, bringing your arms up for shoulder blade reach. Remember, your hands appear over the hips, not over the shoulders. And we're just going to allow the shoulder blades to just subtly glide up and down. It's not about the range of motion. It's more about just controlling the bottom of the shoulder blades along the rib wall. So remember, if you kind of energize your hands more into the angle of your thighs, kind of like your pinky is leading the motion, you'll get a little bit more glidability out of the shoulder blades and really create some hydration changes in the shoulder girdle itself. Let's go one more time, reaching the arms up and then allowing the shoulder girdle to go heavy. Now again, with your hands remaining kind of angled toward the hips, go ahead and let the arms lower down, and before your elbows even reach the floor here, remember we're just going to pause. Hands are going to stay above the level of our torso. We're going to scoop our arms and energize them so that the elbows are reaching away from the shoulders, shoulders away from the sternum, your wrists are reaching away. And now we're going to flex and extend our wrists in opposition. Remember, when the right wrist extends, the left wrist flexes, spreading the hands out, really feeling that fascial pull all the way into your palms, over your forearms, into your biceps, all the way into your chest. You can make a fist and really isolate more of that fascial pull down near the wrist. There's a fascial layer called the retinaculum. It's like a little wrist sleeve, oftentimes can get stiff and tender. Open up the palms, turn the palms upside down, trying that same flexing and extending, or making fists and doing it. And then take a nice breath in. Again, exhaling, finding your core. Nice and slowly, just set your palms down to the ground. Remember, forearms off the floor, nose tips up. Keep your left arm energized. Slightly tip your head away from that left arm, breathing in. Exhaling, feeling the tensional pull, finding your core to accentuate that fascial tugging against your arm. Bring your head back to center. Tipping your head over to that left side, energize your right arm. Exhaling. Bringing your head back to center, maybe turning the palms faced up, pressurizing the back of your thumbs, turning your head, energize your left thumb down to the ground in that tensional pull. Feel that fascial pull down your arms. Exhale, bring your head back to center. Slowly turn your head to the left. Again, breathing in. Noticing if you're feeling any subtle trembles or shakes in the body. It's all part of the rebalancing effect as we're causing that fascial pull. Nervous system's picking it up through those fascial continuums, stimulating the nerves in our arms. Bring your head back to center. Let your arms relax, and without touching your pelvis, 3 times tuck and tilt your pelvis. See if you can reclaim some of that fascial motion. Undulate the pelvis easily, feeling how you can just float the pelvis from a tuck to a tilt. And then when you're ready, go ahead and roll yourself off of the roller, push the roller out from underneath you. And remember, I had you just do a subtle decompression technique. Just take your towel, just place it right behind the back of your head, and just 3 times. Exhale and just subtly nod your nose down. Take a breath in, keep your pressure constant, and just tip your chin up. It's so small. 2 more times. Exhale, just subtly tip your nose down. So you're going to feel more pressure more toward the lower part of the skull. And then take a breath in, exhale, tip your head up. It's just going to come up just a touch more to the center of the back of your head. 1 more time, nodding your nose down, taking a breath in, and lifting your chin back up. Okay, get rid of the towel, lie flat on your back, palms up, arms and legs extended, and let's reassess our masses and spaces. Take a nice breath into your body. Exhale, allow everything to relax, noticing your masses and spaces. Now remember, we're looking for some restoration of alignment in hydration of fascia, as well as to restore neural core efficiency. So turn your head left and right. Notice if we freed up some range, decrease some pain. If the shoulders stay more relaxed, bring your head back to center. Notice if your head feels more centered, if the arms are more relaxed, if you have more weight in between the shoulder blades and lower than the shoulder girdle, if you're feeling those midribs are nice and relaxed. Noticing if you have that nice relaxed low back space rather than a lot of tension in your mid-back, if your butt cheeks or back of thighs have settled to the floor. And also divide yourself into a left and a right half and notice if you feel more balanced from left to right. Take a nice breath in, bend your knees, roll yourself on your side, and come on up to sitting. I hope that you're enjoying learning some of the basic self-care techniques of MELT. Tomorrow, we're going to flip our map, our self-care treatment. Now, as you start to become a melter and you have all the other products, we have so many other melt maps, but one of the tricks of learning how to create a self-care program that's really going to work for you is to be mindful and encourage yourself to flip your map. So tomorrow we're going to start with a rebalance sequence and then end with that lower body length and low back release sequence. We're going to see if we make any other changes. Let's see what happens. Happy melting.